Well, it's not the name of the channel. The channel is Story. It's a big channel, though. So I think it would be good to check it out because 100% they're going to talk about Latin. I wonder if they're going to present it in a correct way because oftentimes the idea of what a dead language is highly misunderstood. So that's one thing that I wanted to see because people associate the concept of a language is dead with the idea of no one speaks it, which is incorrect. So let's see if they do it right. I would imagine so. I mean, almost 1 million subs. I imagine they do their research. But I also want to see if they speak about other things like resurrected languages, such as Hebrew, for instance. So anyways, without further ado, let's just jump right into it.
The word extinct might bring to mind dinosaurs and dodo birds or saber-toothed cats and woolly mammoths.
And dire wolves.
But animals aren't the only natural thing at high risk of extinction in the wild. Languages are too. It's estimated that of the approximately 7,000 languages worldwide, 90% are spoken by less than 100,000 people.
Man, let's take a moment to focus on that. 100,000, less than 100,000. Well, 100,000. It's a very small pool of speakers, of course, when you look at it comparatively.
And some have as few as a single speaker remaining. Language death occurs when the last remaining native speaker of a language passes away.
That's correct. So as you see, she's right. A language is dead when there are no longer native speakers of it. Which kind of begs the question, so can you resurrect a language? Technically, yes. As long as you have native speakers. For instance, if there is a language you love, and it's like a dead language, but let's say you spent years to learn it, and you can speak it. Well, all you need to do is make sure your son or daughter speaks it fluently, not fluently, speaks it natively. I don't know what they would use it for, but that would, in theory, resurrect the language. Now, I wouldn't recommend to do that with an actual real kid and teach them Akkadian, Sumerian, whatever the heck, because, it's one of those things. But then again, it's an interesting thought process, isn't it?
But how does it get to the point where a language's continued existence is reliant on a single person? How do languages die or go extinct? Let's investigate why this happens and why you should care about it.
It's interesting because it's historical. A lot of it has to do with violence, unfortunately, but sometimes it also has to do with cultural replacement. I want to see what path she's going to look into because it's probably a surface level approach. I might make a deep dive, in fact, if you think it's interesting.
I'm Dr. Erica Brzozowski, and this is Other Words.
Nice. Other Words, so that's the name of, I don't know, not the channel.
Other Words.
First things first. Languages that have speakers who learn the language as their native tongue are known as living languages or modern languages. I'm speaking in one right now, English, and maybe you know one of the thousands of other languages alive and well in the 21st century. On the opposite end of the spectrum of linguistic life, well, it's a little more moribund.
Yeah.
However, it's not as stark as the difference between life and death. Like endangered species, languages have stages of dying that may or may not be reversible. A dead language is one that, despite no native speakers, does have second language speakers or is used in written form.
And also
for example, Latin hasn't been...
Hey, we are Latin, I knew it. And also that we have data to reconstruct it because a language that is completely extinct is a language that we cannot even, we know it existed, we can't reconstruct it. Sorry, I'm going back because I want to see her introduce Latin. That's the part that I'm interested in.
Second language speakers or is used in written form. For example, Latin hasn't been en vogue since the fall of Rome in 476 CE, but plenty of people, that's relative, can speak Latin fluently, like my middle school Latin teacher.
I don't think the middle school, let me give her a better... I don't think the middle school Latin teacher is a good example because a lot of middle school and high school Latin teachers are actually pretty bad at Latin, I'll be honest with you. There is a very active, fervent, in fact, Latin-speaking community that has over 20,000 speakers, one of which is Luke Ranieri, of course. And worldwide, yeah, it's a tiny pool of speakers, but it's growing constantly. And these are all second, of course, they speak it as a second language, as a fourth language, as a fifth language, depending. But yeah, Latin is absolutely a spoken language to this day. And there are people that can hold conversations, and not to mention the Holy See. There are plenty of priests. Well, not all priests can speak Latin, believe it or not. I think this changed probably in the 50s, at least in Italy, because up to the 50s, I would imagine all priests had at least a very decent understanding of Latin, but these days it's not easy to find a priest who actually speaks it. Like in the Vatican, like Vatican Radio, for instance, there are excellent Latin speakers as well.
While not spoken natively, it is used for liturgical and academic purposes. Other dead languages include Sanskrit, Sumerian, Ancient Greek, and Gothic.
Man, look at that.
A dormant language is a type of dead language that, while lacking native speakers, serves as a symbol of ethnic identity to a particular community. Iyak is a dormant Nadene language historically spoken by the Dahokniu people.
Okay, so Native Americans, I had no idea. Never heard of this one.
Who reside in south-central Alaska. The last native speaker, Marie Smith Jones, passed away in 2008. But
Man, could you imagine the wait? You're the last native speaker of that language after you are dead. The language is over. Could you imagine that? No pressure. No pressure, Grandma.
two non-Iyak linguists, a Frenchman named Guillaume Ledouis, who had learned about the language online at age 12 and taught himself from Iyak language materials, and University of Alaska professor emeritus Michael Krauss spearheaded efforts to pass Iyak on to the next generation. While it does remain dormant, Ledouis' example showed the community that it was indeed possible to revitalize Iyak as a living, spoken language.
It's interesting because I think they did perhaps still do this with Welsh. When I was in England,